welcome to another video. Today I've got a big fat unhaul. I have 27 books that I'm unhauling today. I'm very excited for the extra space I now have on my bookshelf. It's actually looking quite bare in places, but we won't think about that right now because Christmas is on the horizon. So, I like to try and unhaul a bit before the end of the year because new books for Christmas and just for decluttering and general New Year's resolutions and whittling down the TBR to things that you're genuinely interested in reading for the year because you'll know you're just going to accumulate more. So, it's the perfect time to do it. And I've got a big chunk of books on here that I have been playing with the idea of unhauling for ages, but I think the best way to go about this is to just go into this. So, as I say, I have 27 books, but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 of them are by the same author. So, shall we just bear with? These are all of the Cassandra Clare books I own. So I've got from City of Bones to Lady Midnight. I think there's like a couple missing in the middle somewhere. But I read the first 3 books of City of Bones. No, that's not what it's called. What's it called? The Mortal Instruments. I read the first 3 of that series. These are really heavy. Yeah, I read the first 3 of that series and I was young at the time. I must have been like 13 or something, and they were alright then, and I have no interest in reading them since. I've mentioned it a few times on my channel that I just don't care about the Shadowhunters world, which is a shame because it's so popular amongst people on BookTube, so starting off with a controversial one, I suppose, but I have no interest in reading any of these, so they gots to go. So they're gonna go. Don't know what I'm gonna do with them yet. Charity shop them, probably. I don't want them, so they're going, and that's a big chunk of shelf space cleared. Moving on from those, the rest are all kind of different. So that's a big 9 out of the way, so we now have 18 more to go, which are all quite different. So let's just crack on with it, shall we? One of the first ones is As Old as Time, A Twisted Tale from Disney by Liz Braswell. I bought this when I was kind of on my Beauty and the Beast hype that I happened to have like when the movie came out. And haven't read it since, have no interest to read it now. I've moved on to bigger and better things, so complete waste of my money, but I just don't care anymore, so getting rid of it. I'm never going to read it, I just need to be brutally honest with myself. Next up is Godblind by Anna Stephens. This was the quarterly book club pick for, what was it, the autumn quarter. It was my pick and I didn't like it. I've spoken about it plenty, I think. It was too much of a Game of Thrones wannabe, but not executed anywhere near as much. Really difficult to follow with far too many points of view. I didn't finish it, don't want to, won't continue the series, have absolutely no desire to hold on to it, so it's going. Next up is The Loneliness of Distant Beings by Kate Ling. This is signed, but I hated it, so it's gotta go. This was so promising in terms of a sci-fi with this like culture on this spaceship that's travelling for like a really long time, so they've got to like keep humanity alive on this ship, and there's a breeding program, and it seemed really cool, but it turned into a real heavy romance, and I wasn't about that. It didn't follow the plot that I thought it might have. It was just whiny teenagers falling in love, and I'm not there for that, so it's got to go. Next up is a book that I don't actually have a problem with, and that is Under the Skin by Michel Faber. I bought this and read this because I was studying the film of it in media in college, and I wanted to read the book to compare it to, and it's been on my shelf since then, which was some years ago now, so I just don't have a desire to hang on to it. Like, it wasn't a fantastic book, it was a bit weird, like, definitely my sort of thing, but I think because I studied it and I just don't want it anymore, so getting rid of it. But no problem with this book at all, like, it's not bad. Next up is The Wolf Princess by Catherine Constable. This is one of the few polar fantasies I've read that I just didn't like too much. I liked the setting and the fact that it was a polar fantasy, and so on, but something about the plot of this just didn't sit right with me. I didn't like it a whole lot. I was a bit like, really? Yeah, I don't really have much more to say on that one, but I will never reread it. I have no real desire to hold on to it. Like, normally with middle grades, I would think I would hold on to them for my sisters, but I don't think it's worth it, so getting rid of that one. Next up is another quarterly pick, and that is The Miniaturist by Jessie Burton. Not my cup of tea. It's a historical fiction, not a magical realism, not something I would read again, not something I would recommend to the sort of people that I recommend books to. Just not my thing. My nan might like it, maybe, but I'm not having any sort of desire to hold on to it, so this one's gotta go as well. Next up is Grayson Fury by Tracy Banghart. This was a fairly recent one from a Fairy Loot. I think it's got the signed book plate and everything. I read like the first, still got the bookmark in it, I read the first 30 pages of this. Don't care. I can tell the route that the story is gonna take. I just don't care. Not into it. Don't want to read it. I'm gonna get rid of it. I am gonna keep hold of the bookmark though, because that's cute. Next up is a couple that I've been playing with unhauling, and that is 3 Dark Crowns and 1 Dark Throne by Kanda Blake. I just don't like them. I mean, this was okay. I read, again, I DNF'd this one. What did I get, like 100 pages in or something? And I just don't care. This story is not one for me, not one that I have been enjoying. I don't care enough about what happens, don't care about the characters. I'm just not into it, and I would rather read something I am into. So yeah, as I say, I DNF'd 1 Dark Throne, so I'm not gonna pick up, what's the next one? 2 Dark Reigns or something? That's out. I have no desire to pick that up at all, so I'm just gonna bite the bullet and get rid of these as well, and stop holding on to hope that one day I might read them, because I won't. I know I won't. Realistically, I just won't, so they're out of here. Then we have Flame in the Mist by Rene Rea. This is one that I read with Jess a while back. It was a buddy read, and again, we both didn't like this, and the only thing pushing us through was the fact that we were buddy reading it, and we were like, well, we might as well finish it. But it wasn't for me. For something that was marketed as a Mulan retelling, there is very little similarities between this and Mulan other than main character dresses up as boy. Really not into it. Didn't like it. No interest in picking up the sequel. No interest in picking up anything else by this author, to be honest with you. Just not my cup of tea. I have no desire to keep it on my shelf, and not one that I would recommend. So it's leaving. Next up is War of the Worlds by H.G. Wells. Again, this is one that I studied in college. Don't care anymore, don't want to keep hold of it, no desire to reread it, just not fancying it. I'm really not into classics, like I'm just not. Can't be helped, I'm just not. We then have another quarterly book club pick, which is Invictus by Ryan Groudon. I DNF'd this, didn't like it, didn't care about the characters or the plot, no desire to finish the book or ever start it again or anything, to be honest. And again with this one, no desire to read anything else by this author either, so there is little reason for this to still be on my shelf, so it's out of here. This is one I played with a little bit, I'm not sure, but I think I am going to get rid of, and that is Furyborn by Claire Legrand. This is the ARC copy that came in the Fairy Loot. I'm not too much of a sentimental person about the fact that this is an ARC and it's special, because I didn't like the book that much, so I'm not fussed. And if I want to read the sequel when it comes out, I obviously won't have the ARC copy, I'd have the finished copy, so then I'd buy the finished copy of the first one if I wanted to read the sequel, which I don't think I will because I didn't like this one that much. Does that make sense? So I'm getting rid of it. Maybe if I hear like raving reviews about the second one, I might purchase the finished copy down the line to reread and then read the sequel, but I doubt it, and I have no desire to keep hold of this ARC copy. This book confused me. There were parts that I liked and parts that I didn't like. I feel like I've spoken about this a fair bit on my channel, like, nah, it's like as soon as you got into one bit, it flipped perspectives and flipped time zones and just took you somewhere else. It was like you were never invested in anything because you were never in one place long enough to care. Next up is one I don't want people to attack me for, please, but it's Simon vs. the Homo Sapiens Agenda by Becky Albertalli. I didn't like this. I don't need to go into it again. Just not for me, and I don't think I will ever read anything by Becky Albertalli again. I don't like contemporaries. Not for me. Moving on. Next, I'm going to be getting rid of Wild Beauty by Anna-Marie McLemore. I've heard some iffy things about it. I just haven't heard anything great enough for me to want to read it when I'm not sure about it anyway, so yeah. This is apparently magical realism, but quite, like, romance heavy, and I'm not into romance, as we know. So yeah, not fussed about this one, and I'm just not drawn to it at all anyway, so no desire to keep it. Again, I've got the little book plate and the Dear Reader letter as well. Similar thing with Forest of a Thousand Lanterns by Julie C. Dow. I just don't care enough to read it. Again, got the book plate and the Dear Reader letter in there, but I have absolutely no desire to read it, and I'm really not into the cover. The paperback cover I've seen recently is much prettier, but I don't know enough about it, so there's that. And of all the books on my shelf that I haven't read, this one is not calling to me at all, so I'm just biting the bullet and getting rid of it. And again, a similar story with Heartless by Marissa Meyer. This is the Owl Crate one. As much as this book is really pretty, I genuinely do not think I will ever read it. I've not read anything by Marissa Meyer, but I really do want to read the Lunar Chronicles. But a Queen of Hearts origin story just isn't something that I'm interested in. I'm not a wild Alice in Wonderland fan. I don't care enough about the character of the Queen of Hearts to be interested in a retelling of her origin story. I'm just not interested and I don't care, and again, I've not heard anything great about it. Not saying I've heard terrible things about it, but I've just heard a fair few so-so things about it, and who's got time for a so-so read that you're not really interested in anyway? Not me. And then last but not least, I'm going to be getting rid of Girls of Paper and Fire by Natasha Nagan. This looks beautiful, and it came in a recent Fairy Loot, and I know they did the read along for it, but the trigger warnings for this scare me, so I'm not gonna read it, quite simply. As beautiful as it is, and I wish I could, I know that the subject matter of this book is not going to sit well with me. I asked on Instagram for some people's thoughts, and the overall advice based on the things that I can't handle was to get rid of this. Like, this has trigger warnings for abuse, like violence and sexual assault and violence and abuse and so on. I can't do that. I can't do that as a main plotline. I just can't. So, as beautiful as it is, and I hope everyone who has read it has enjoyed it because it's been getting so much popularity, I just can't do it myself. I'm not going to put myself in that uncomfortable position that I know this will put me in, so I'm not going to subject myself to it, quite simply. So, it's got to go. And there we have 27 books that I'm getting rid of. Disclaimer, as always, if I mentioned one of your favourites, no personal attack on you. As you could see, half of them books I hadn't read. So, it's all personal opinion, it's all personal preference, etc. Now, I've got 27 books that I need to get rid of. For anyone that asks what I'm doing with them, probably taking them to a charity shop. I might see what I can get for some of the hardbacks on Music Magpie or something. Or if any of you are in the UK and desperately want to get your hands on one of these, which you may want to, then drop me a comment, let me know. Maybe I can send it to you. But of course I would ask you to pay shipping. Just it'd be cheaper to just pay shipping than for you to have to go and buy the book, do you know what I mean? Anyway, yes, clearing space for the new year, clearing space for Christmas and any books that I may acquire during that period. I'm feeling fresher looking at my shelves, there's more space, which is fantastic, so I might have a bit of a shuffle and a jig to put like some things to write so I don't have just gaping holes in my shelves. But there we go, that's that. I hope you have enjoyed. Let me know if you love or hate any of the books that I've mentioned. Of course, I'm down to chat about that. But there's my big ass end of the year unhaul. I will see you next time. Bye!